All aboard, train's good, plane's bad. Woo-hoo!
Could you just reiterate briefly why we think this whole trains and planes thing is going on?
Yeah. We have one of the greatest transportation systems in the world with our airline system. You can go anywhere you want, and you can go get there rather quickly. We're never going to move to trains, which is really only works in a compact area like Europe, or in places where you really, you got to control the people more, like maybe China. But generally speaking, we're never going to take a high-speed rail from San Francisco to Chicago, or even San Francisco to Los Angeles, for that matter. The idea, though, is to kind of promote the idea of high-speed rail, so we can put in new track beds around the country, which are falling apart, and they're old-fashioned. These new tracks are made out of welded steel, and on the cement beds are beautiful.
Reared in metal.
They're absolutely fantastic. And the idea is to set it up, make the taxpayers pick up the bill for upgrading the bed around the country, so Burlington Northern can at some point say, hey, you're not using this very well. Nobody's taking your stupid high-speed rail. Can we use it? Oh, okay. Well, maybe we can make up, we can get something out of these tracks. And then all the freight then goes on the high-speed rail and goes flying around without Burlington Northern having to pick up a nickel of it. It's a scam.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I got to shorten that speech up a little bit.
No, that was much better. But, because new people are listening to the show and like, why are you guys against trains? It's wonderful. We can get there in 3 times the amount of time.
We can spend days on the train.
And we got Wi-Fi. It's wonderful. The trains are good.
And get there, even if it's local, like I said the other day. I can go take the train to Sacramento to go to the museum up there, but it costs more than it would cost me to drive. I would get there maybe a little faster, but not much, and I don't have a car when I'm there. The whole thing is ridiculous. It makes no logical sense.
Maybe the TSA let them through, like, hey, we got 3 kids, we can look at them naked.
Maybe the whole thing was a bunch of bull crap. It's more like it.
Yeah.
So I've got an interesting clip. We want to change the topic a bit, unless
Sure.
you have more trains and planes things.
No, but let me just close it out, because we love playing the jingle so much.
All aboard, train's good, plane's bad. Woo-hoo!
In Shanghai, air travel begins and ends with a flight at 0 altitude in first-class comfort. Transrapid accelerates to 267 miles per hour in no time at all. Transrapid is comfortable, safe, and quiet.
The New York Times reports the fee frenzy generated nearly $8 billion for American carriers last year. NBC looks at how customers try to cut costs and avoid the extra expenses in flying.
The airlines say if you look at just the base fare, airline tickets are actually cheaper today than they were 10 years ago. But 10 years ago, we weren't paying extra for luggage fees.
I could have paid $65 and not thrown anything away, but I wasn't willing to pay $65 when the ticket cost $160 to begin with.
But that meant 2-year-old James had to strap on a backpack.
He carries his own bag because then it's free. If he checks it, it's $25.
The U.S. travel editor for Lonely Planet tells the Washington Post frequent flyers are getting frustrated. Passengers feel like they're paying more and getting a little less. ABC News highlights Spirit Airlines fees in particular.
$19 for the first, $25 for the second, $100 for the third, each way. And as of this week, Spirit is even charging for carry-ons placed in the overhead bins. $30 if you check your carry-on in online, $45 at the gate.
So a reminder for those of you who are new to the program, that Hill and Knowlton, one of the premier PR agencies in the world, is promoting the U.S. Here they come. The U.S. High-Speed Rail Association, and they're doing it mainly by sneaking in reports into your regularly scheduled news, into the regular Ministry of Truth items about how bad air travel is. And this woman who was on Delta, she whispered, what's her name, Cynthia Angel, who was a good Samaritan. She quietly whispered to the head stewardess, I don't know, this is really weird, but I think I smelled alcohol on the pilot's breath. And so they took her off. She spoke to some Delta officials. They put her back on. Then 20 minutes later, I guess they just kept the plane there. They said, all right, slave, get off. Get off this plane. You're not flying with us. You're not on the friendly skies. Get off. And they just took her right off. Of course, implying that Delta pilots fly drunk.
That's what it says to me.
That's kind of what the implication is there.
It's kind of what the end game story is. If you're trying to get a story out there, it sounds
that's what you want.
It could be plastered, but they're not. Yeah. You're gonna be the one thrown off. It's an old trick.
Salon had a very nice little thing they snuck in there. Headline: Airport security run amok at the checkpoint. Checkpoint. There's a big sign, picture of it here. Please be advised, snow globes are not allowed through the security checkpoint. And there's actually a little picture of a snow globe with a red circle around it and a stripe. Your safety is our priority. Just so you know, snow globes now a no-no.
Yeah, well, you can always pack them. Did you ever get your checked luggage? Even though I rarely do it, but you ever check it and then you get it back and there's a note inside?
Yeah, a little TSA note. Yeah, Homeland Security note, actually. Yeah, I've gotten that all the time. Those guys be rummaging through my underwear, touching themselves.
Hi, y'all. Welcome to the Austin International Airport. If I could trouble you to please take your personal computers out of your knapsacks and put it on the conveyor belt, we'll get you on that plane in just a scootly doodly.
Take your laptops out your bag. Woo! TSA gangsters up in this aeropuerto. You can't be bringing that shit on a plane no more, motherfucker. Get your shit right. Word.
Yeah, we need to build rapid rail to catch up to those allies from World War II. France already has the TGV. China is building its rapid rail system. It's time we join the movement. We need to go back to the future, become a country that builds things again. It'll create jobs. It'll catch us up to the rest of the world. It'll cut our reliance on oil. It'll give us hope we can believe in. Look, Lincoln built the Continental Railroads even in the middle of the Civil War. Ike built the interstate highway system in the supposedly do-nothing 50s. President Obama, just do it.
Remember when being a flight attendant was a job of glamour and adventure?
Service like this, combined with the Clipper's solid comfort.
Well, those days are over. Now flight attendants deal with frustrated passengers who are cramped and cranky.
The good news for these billion or so travelers, this largest mass migration in in world history, is that this year some of those trips will be a lot shorter. In the last 4 years, China has spent more than $185 billion on high-speed rail, just on trains. What all of that investment means is that within about 2 years, China expects to have 42 new high-speed train lines. For comparison, here in America, we won't even have our first one. We're expecting our first high-speed rail line 2 years after the Chinese are expecting 42 of them. We'll get one within 4 years. China will get 42 in half the time. Our one little high-speed rail commitment will connect Tampa and Orlando, Florida. China, on the other hand, has major train routes planned to link all of its major cities. The superfast trains average about 215 miles an hour. That would be like traveling overland, Dallas to Detroit in 6 hours, Birmingham to Indianapolis in a little over 2 hours, Boston to New York in an hour. Wouldn't it be awesome if we were doing that instead of China?
If you're one of the millions heading home for the holidays by airplane, you may be dreading the long lines and intrusive searches that a trip through an airport checkpoint can mean these days. Since 9/11, $40 billion has been spent to beef up airport security, with most of it going to hire 50,000 screeners who enforce rules often considered annoying and arbitrary. Travelers feel so hassled by the screeners that their bosses at TSA, the Transportation Security Administration, have launched an image makeover and a PR campaign to convince the public that there's a good reason for the inconveniences and indignities.
We're going to start building a new high-speed rail line, building for the future.
Barack Obama recently pledged $8 billion in federal support for a national network of high-speed rail, trains that can carry passengers at speeds in excess of 150 miles per hour. But the super train fantasy is a mistake for at least 3 reasons.
We're providing $8 billion in seed money.
That $8 billion won't come close to funding the national plan, which CNN reports could cost over $500 billion. Rail projects, like most government-funded extravaganzas, have a funny way of ballooning in cost. In less than 2 years' time, for instance, cost estimates for California's planned bullet trains between Los Angeles and the Bay Area have increased by 1/3, up to about $43 billion. Some estimates say that by the time the Golden State Project is completed in 2020, it'll cost more than $100 billion.
We're going to be taking cars off of congested highways, reducing carbon emissions.
Because high-speed rail is designed to carry people from city to city, it won't have any effect on urban traffic congestion, which mostly takes place within a given metro area. Think about it. Flying from Boston to New York doesn't reduce inbound traffic at the Lincoln Tunnel. Neither will taking a high-speed train. And don't confuse high-speed rail with magic carpets that run on newfangled clean energy. All but 2 of the proposed lines run on diesel.
Having made over 7,900 round trips literally on Amtrak, 250 miles a day, I am very familiar with rail.
Amtrak is a notorious money pit, costing taxpayers at least $35 billion in handouts. Its per-passenger subsidies average about $50 per ticket. 140 million people schlep to work each Monday through Friday. Amtrak carries just 78,000 people per day. And the overseas experience isn't all that great either. Only 2 bullet train lines, one in France and one in Japan, have recovered their capital costs, and all of them require massive ongoing subsidies from taxpayers. If we're looking to reduce traffic congestion and travel delays, it makes more sense to build more roads and to increase the number of airplane flights by modernizing the air traffic control system. Bullet trains may be fun to talk about, but don't expect them to carry you or the United States into the future anytime soon.
The federal agency hasn't stored just a few. They've got more than 35,000 images on record.
And it's no surprise that this is now raising new questions about these scanners, the ones being used at airport security checkpoints as well.
People came up and they never do this because a lot of Asians at the airport, and they're very kind to me. And as soon as I said, you have to go into the machine, go into the machine. So I went in and you have to keep your hand like this, and some stuff happens. And I came out, and then I saw these girls, they had these printouts. So I looked at them, I thought, you know, maybe it's a form that you're supposed to fill, and they gave it to me, and you can see everything inside. And then I've autographed them for them.
Oh, well, that's what we do here.
Here's Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano in March.
The machines are not set to store images. They're not set to transmit images, such as the one you referred to. We're really talking about, you know, older iterations of the technology.
Sure, but
we want to deal with those as we go through the implementation.
Sure, but can you guarantee, Madam Secretary, again, that we will never, ever hear a story of somebody inappropriately storing or transmitting these images?
Look, I'm going to tell you, we are not retaining, we are not keeping. They're not designed for that at all.
Right, but that doesn't sound like an unequivocal no.
All aboard, train's good.